think entrepreneurs will always be there when opportunities are there. You know, so long as there are available opportunities, you will get. And, I mean, you know, Tony is a classic example. He saw an opportunity and he went in. And, you know, so long as we create an environment where opportunities will come up, and that people don't feel disadvantaged or, you know, handicapped, then they will go for it. And you got to allow people to fail as well. You know, we have to create an environment where entrepreneurs take risks, and in some cases they will fail. Yeah, but you must then allow them to come back up. If we create an environment that's too safe, and everybody's returns are going to be capped because of this safe environment, then you're going to kill the entrepreneurial spirit.
There's got to be access to capital.
Sorry?
Access to capital.
Okay.
I think one of the great things about America, and there are a lot of things wrong with America, but they keep bringing up new technologies and new, you know, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, whatever. And whenever you meet these guys, they always had access to capital. You know, I know there's a new fund being committed, and it's a good start. But I mean, there have been other funds as well. I mean, I've tried to get that capital before, and it's a nightmare. And some of them actually said they want security. Not capital. I mean, it wouldn't come to them if you had security. So there has to be a mindset change. That if you want entrepreneurs, you're going to have to take some risks. You're going to have to lose and really set up a good private equity arm. There is talent here. There is, you know.
The ACE market that we are introducing, right, come August. If you can get a sponsor, you don't even need a track record to list, and you can tap the capital market immediately.
I think, to be clear, I think you're right. We're not sure of various funds in place, but what's actually lacking here is actually the availability of risk capital. I think we're venture capital to actually fund, seed capital and so on. And I think in many of the other markets, the availability of risk capital is actually not necessarily by the government itself, but it's actually by the the private sector. So if you have businessmen who've done well in their segment, it would be great if they can allocate a certain portion of their wealth into high risk capital to be made available to other entrepreneurs. I think that will go a long way. I think in the US, there's a lot of these funds actually, private funds actually available, and not necessarily government-sponsored funds.
But there are a lot of also established funds, whether it's Klein Perkins or Goldman Sachs. They all have a lot of private equity funds that
private
do
money,
right?
Yeah, but they actually raise the money from private individuals.
Or pension funds or whatever. I mean, wouldn't be bad to get EPF to have a little bit of a venture fund, for instance, right? So, I think that's a large part of it is getting capital. I think liberalization, the perception thing is very important. I think also for entrepreneurs and for people who think, oh, well, I can't make my living here, so I want to go abroad. And a lot of ideas and there's a huge brain drain, right? I mean, I go and talk to universities all over the world, and there's always one section that will cheer louder than the others, and it's always a bunch of Malaysians. And the first thing I think of is, why are they not here? So I think a lot of this is perception, which will change people's views and will hopefully keep the talent here. Create the right environment. It's easy to say we want to be innovative, but if you don't create the environment for innovation, you don't create freedom of speech, more openness, etc., you're not going to get that innovation. So I think it's a step forward. It ain't going to be solved tomorrow. But I think the message is that less government intervention in business is a good start. I mean, should taxis be controlled? I'll give you a very extreme example. I think it's the LCC taxis appeal to me. There's nothing I can do, right? They're showing me how much money they make, and then we complain about the taxi service being so bad. There was a very good point from Sharil on the low cost mentality. We want a better quality. We have to pay for it as well. So there are those kinds of issues as well, and then you have price controls and all these things keeping up, and so then we lose our competitiveness. People say, I'm not going to come to Malaysia because the taxi service is bad, or and then you create ticket touts. It becomes self-problem. So I think there should be less regulation in some areas, and or more freedom of pricing to allow people to earn a decent living and invest in businesses and grow the businesses. You know, bus operator, his fare is controlled. So the guys that when fuel was going up, it was controlled, and so it becomes a vicious cycle. So I think politics and business sometimes get too intertwined.
So the government steps back a bit more, and then you let market forces dictate. That's how you're going to get all these entrepreneurs coming back.
Who would want to invest in a taxi business right now? Everyone's been saying start Tune Taxi.
The taxi business is controlled, you know, and
So we're giving you an extreme example, but that is an example of how there's inefficiencies and poor quality and underinvestment. And in the end, who has to bail it out? The government.
So which means
And then the taxpayer, effectively, as opposed to the money going to productive areas.
what you're talking about essentially is the licensing of industry itself, you know, isn't it?
Not necessarily. Even the basic service, we're getting to very micro now, but this is very important actually. A point is that if you don't allow economic pricing to be in operation, that's when you get a lot of problems. So for example, the taxi fare in Malaysia must be the lowest in the world, ever. And it's not sustainable. And because of the low price, then how do you expect people to actually invest in providing, you know, proper vehicles, maintenance, and so on?
And drivers.
And also you get all these touts, people being fleeced. You know? So if you can allow, the price to be set at a more economic level, so that, as you're right, people can make a decent living, then you can have the facilities being upgraded, the service being improved, and so on. So I think that's a very
Ultimately, the market will decide. If you charge too much for the taxi, no one's going to use it anyway.
I suppose the market would decide if the market was very free. But if you have a restricted number of participants into a market, then the market is not free, and you have to probably at least oversee the prices.
But who's restricting the market?
Yeah,
Right?
yes.
And that's, it comes to the crux of what the three of us are saying.
I suppose low value doesn't mean low quality, because he's demonstrating that it doesn't have to be.
thinking from on the other side, the government's concerned about the cost of living and so on. So if you put up the increase in fare price, the fares, so how will it affect the other people and so on? So then it goes back to the overall economic model, that if we can actually migrate to a high income model, then all these things will be taken care of.
And you enter the area of subsidies.